Hey, Scott from Aristocob.com here.
And Seth from woodwishes.com. Can you guess where the Q is?
Together along with you, the three of us, we're Mark with Ben's Breakfast Club. Welcome back once again. Good morning, boy, and welcome to
Homer.
Tobacco Advent 2020, Day 13, where we continue to smoke the cigars from Day 12. And why? Because we're out of tobacco.
You know, I don't often smoke a cigar for breakfast, but when I do, I'm glad it's this one.
Jerimiah not only was a bullfrog, but he was a supporter of Mark with Ben's Breakfast Club. He's actually 1/3 of Mark with Ben's Breakfast Club as well. And he sent these cigars over to us.
That's right.
We debated when I saw these in the box. I said, well, maybe we'll cut these up and we'll smoke them in a pipe. But when we saw what he said about them, that he didn't want to cut them up and smoke them in his pipe, he thought we might enjoy them as cigars.
He's right.
We are fulfilling their destiny right here.
That's right. So today's question is another user-submitted question. This is from Uncle Mike. Uncle Mike said, I often find myself envious, for lack of a better term, of your father-son relationship.
I'm a great dad. Thank you for mentioning that.
And according to some, I am your great dad, so you're welcome. I don't have much of a relationship with my father, and I want different for my son and I. He's only one, so we've got a ways to go, but can you briefly describe what you feel makes your relationship as strong as it seems? I'd be interested to see if Scott and Seth have different thoughts on this topic. Thanks.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I before really getting into the question, I hear that a lot. Hear that a lot from viewers. Hear that a lot from some people that I know personally. I've got one friend in particular who is we've been talking recently about how he's just trying to find any way really to connect with his dad. He's an adult. He has kids of his own and feels like he has never really had a great relationship with his dad, doesn't really have a great point of connection, and is going out of his way to try to find a point where they can really connect and share a hobby or anything. So yeah, Uncle Mike, I hear that. So what do you think?
I don't know. Are we really that close?
I mean, you were there for most of it that I was there for.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, I was there for all of it.
Our relationship goes back a long time for you, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was born and you've been my father ever since.
Ever since. And actually, even before then, I was your dad.
Whoa! Mind blown.
I don't know. I mean, part of it is I was 22 when we had Seth. And so I was a young dad, and that lends itself a little bit to, we had kind of some shared interests, and I was excited to share the things that I loved with my son, and therefore some of my passions became his passions. We have a very similar sense of humor, which is warped. We have similar taste in music, although sometimes I'm a little slow to adopt whatever his latest music that he's interested in, but I tend to it grows on me. Shared some hobbies with him early on that continue today. Now with the tobacco pipe smoking thing, it's just something that we do together that's almost forced togetherness. Every year we do this, and if we didn't have Tobacco Advent or even Mark with Ben's Breakfast Club, we wouldn't spend as much time together as we do.
Not one-on-one, but as with family. I mean, I'm fortunate that my family's I'm really close with both my parents, and they're close with my family, and so we get together once a week, normally for lunch or dinner, and or go on vacations together, and so that's I count myself lucky there. I mean, I think there are some of the hobbies that you shared that I didn't pick up.
True.
And I think sometimes that was disappointing for you, but it was never I never felt like that wasn't okay. I know that for some people that is a challenge. That sometimes dads in particular they want to share things, and can get very frustrated and disappointed when that doesn't.
That can be tough for business owners that want the and sons on the truck, or even daughters that just don't take an interest in things like that. I don't know. I think one of the things that's maybe hard for a lot of men, and let's put ourselves in the dad role here for a bit, is to appreciate your kids where they are. I struggled with that because I always wanted the next thing. It took me a while to understand that he's not able to do this thing I want him to do, but look at what he's doing now.
Yeah.
This is cool, and encourage him to do that. And I love coming into the room and saying hi to my family or saying good morning. We have this. It's a habit. It's part of our family. I walk into the living room first thing in the morning. 4 of my grandkids are in the living room, and they all get a greeting from me and a hug or a tickle or something.
Yeah.
And that's important to me, and it's important to be acknowledged when I come into the room from the end of the day for the first time. I want to be greeted, and I see that that's not the norm for a lot of people, and you can't put that on the kid. The kids
That's right.
the kids learn those habits from us, and so be sure that when you're driving home every day, remember that your kid is at home anxiously awaiting to say, "Hey, Daddy," and to show you that silly little thing that he built or that funny little toy that he's been playing with. And for him, it's not even about the toy, it's about those moments with Dad that he wants to share and bring you into his life. And sometimes, we've had a tough day, we had a tough drive home, we got things to get done, and it's easy to forget and to put the kids off. We'll take care of that on the weekend. Well, guess what? On the weekend, we're going golfing or working on the lawn. There's always something else that can get in the way of that time. So with Seth and his sister, that was always important to us. Dinners together every night was an important thing for us. And again, I know that's not the norm for a lot of families either. But those moments, we were talking one, I don't even know when it was, but I was getting kind of down one day when I felt like my kids were growing up and they never got to enjoy the things that I got to do. The family vacations, the camping, the trips and things that we did, because we didn't have the money to do it, and I was busy working so much. And I remember we had this conversation because Seth was in the back seat, Seth and Dana, and I mentioned something about, we don't have the traditions, the Christmas traditions. And Seth said, yes, we do. It's like, what do you mean, yes, we do? He goes, yeah. We drive up to Ohio, we stop at the Chinese restaurant or a Chinese restaurant, and, his traditions and my daughter's traditions, some of those continue today.
Yeah.
Weren't the traditions that I thought needed to be carried out or carried on, but they were what we did every Christmas, every Easter, every whatever tradition.
Yeah.
So appreciate those little milestones, because to a kid, it's all they know, right? And I was having a conversation the other day with somebody who was feeling pretty bad that their kid is now being raised in a broken home, and they just feel it's terrible that their kid doesn't have the life they had. And you know what? Maybe it's less than perfect, but that's the only life that child knows. And so give them the best time you can. And so maybe at some point there's some separation. The Bible tells us to raise a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. I believe that has to do with faith, but really it has to do with everything. And thank goodness we never really had a separation.
No.
But
I mean, from my point of view, and as both child and father, I think that one thing my parents did that is becoming less popular, I guess, in a lot of households, is honor and respect was expected, and that didn't mean beatings, but it meant discipline would be instituted and implemented in the home, and that's something that we had a conversation with my neighbor recently, and she's like, yeah, I think like asking your kid or having your kid say yes sir, yes ma'am, is just forcing them to do something they shouldn't have to do, and maybe, but however whatever level of respect you want that human, that 1-year-old to have for their boss, and for people in authority over them, and for police officers, and discipline over themselves. That's the discipline that you should be expecting from them. That's a level of respect and honor that they should be held to. That's the standard that they should be held to. The same standard that you would hold yourself to, you should hold them to.
And when they're young, that becomes the norm, and then you can focus on having the fun times.
Yeah.
Right. So the kids that disrespect their parents and disrespect other people because they were never taught to respect, you're going to fight with those kids the whole way.
Yeah, I heard it explained this way as a camp counselor, as we talked about if you're trying to herd sheep, right, and if you let the sheep out to pasture, and then you try to build a fence around them, you're going to have a bad time. If you build the fence around them and then let them out to pasture, you can always expand the fence, but you can always bring it back in when you need to. And that was true of being a camp counselor for kids that you are standing in as their parents for a week. I think that's true of your kids, that they need that discipline. We all need boundaries. The other things I think is that at this stage, for your child and your children, the ownership is on you. And so, repairing that relationship with your father, I imagine is hard. I've seen it. I think it's hard, but you have the opportunity now to be the one to create the relationship that you want to have, that you want to see with your son and any other future children. I catch myself in moments, and not all of the moments, but I catch myself at times when I'm frustrated or irritated, or at the end of the long day, when whatever silly little thing that the kids are excited about, that they want me to look at, right? Come look at this. Come look at these 3 Legos that I stacked on top of each other, right? And in those moments where I just want to say, that's silly, or no, or I can't right now, I catch myself thinking, how will I feel the day that they stop asking? Mm-hmm. How will I feel on that day? And every time that you say no, you're encouraging them not to ask the next time. And
the 50th time that morning on the swing set that they yell, "Hey, Dad, look, Dad, look, Dad, look."
That's right.
Do you think about when your kids couldn't get on the swing by themselves?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And couldn't get their legs to work with their arms to get the swing to move, and all those things that they do now.
And then to what you brought up, the other side of that is like you were saying with the traditions. I know some parents of children who have grown, some adult children now, who struggle to find joy in the relationship with their kids because of regrets that they have for ways that they didn't do things better. And as far as the kids know, the way things were done was great. And when the kids tell you, we have family traditions, and when your response is no, but it wasn't good enough, what is that message that you're conveying? And in that moment, you're not engaged with them. In fact, you're combating them in that moment. And I've seen relationships that can't move past that because of an unwillingness to offer yourself grace. You're gonna screw it up. You are absolutely gonna screw it up. A lot. You've got to give yourself the free pass to know that you're trying your best. When you realize that you've screwed it up, usually after you have screwed it up, and after you screwed it up much bigger than you wanted to, that's when you need to say, okay, I screwed this up. Go and apologize to your son.
We've had those conversations where I had to go and apologize to Seth. There was a period of time when we first moved here to North Carolina that I had some problems with blood pressure that were that were not being properly addressed. It turns out two things: I had sleep apnea, so I wasn't getting any rest while I was sleeping, and it turned out that I had a problem with one of my adrenal glands, and so it was like I had a very short fuse. And there were a few times where I had to pull my kids aside and say, "I'm so sorry. I don't know why I got so angry about that, and I apologize." And
likewise, I mean, I went through the teenage phase. It was not, I don't know how it compares to anyone else, but there were some times I remember being so angry, and it felt like when I got really angry and upset, it was moments where it felt like everything that mattered to me in that moment was being completely and absolutely disregarded and dismissed, and basically I felt completely unvalued in those moments. And sometimes that's just the nature of being in a family. There's complexity there, but those were the things that stand out to me as the times that I had a really short fuse and kind of pushed back. I remember one time we had family in town. I got pissed because there was some family obligation we were going to do that meant that something that had previously been discussed and I was previously committed to was going to be canceled. Suddenly, I was like, "This is bull crap." What is it? I remember getting real pissed and short fuse conversation in the dining room, and we cooled down and came back together and said, "I'm sorry," and that was uncalled for, and I'm upset, but I get it, and we'll do what we've got to do.
Yeah.
So.
And then you did what I told you to do.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But I am biding my time. So
to get to the end of the story, Seth is now one of my favorite people on this planet, and he's grown into an amazing man, husband, and dad, and he's had a tremendous impact on a lot of people, and I take great pride in knowing that I played a little part in getting him to where he is. My wife played a much bigger part because I traveled a lot for work and was absent quite a bit. And so I talk about regrets. There were some regrets there, but I tell you what, it was tough because for the longest time in our marriage, I literally was working multiple jobs. And so I was working late at night on a third shift job and just trying to take care of my family. Yeah. And, wasn't there as much as I'd like to be. That's for darn sure.
And
one more thing. And I may have mentioned this. I remember the last episode of MASH. I wanted to see it so bad, but I had to work. And I was the only person working that night, and that was a second job that I had, and I was working at a U-Haul storage and rental place. And Jandy, this was before, well, at least before we had a VCR, Jandy made an audio recording of the show. And I came home and she says, "Here, I recorded something for you." And I listened to the last episode of MASH, which, if you remember the last episode of MASH, it was a tough one. I'm like, what's going on? Why is Hawkeye losing it? And then, years later, catching on a rerun, it's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now.
I remember having conversations young about how you felt regret, about how much you worked, and thinking about last year I traveled a lot. I was traveling a lot for work, going to a lot of trade shows, and of course this year not so much, but we made the conscious decision when communicating those things with our kids to make sure that they knew that those things were for them, and that I work like that because I love them, and it's important for them to have what they need, and for our food, and for our home, and all of these things, and that it's not me choosing work over them. It's not more important to me than them. It's not. It's for them to have what they need, and that I think is an important conversation to have if that's true, that's not always the case. But
and it's also wonderful now. We have cell phones and we
yeah.
have iPads with FaceTime.
Definitely takes a lot of the sting out of it.
Yeah, stuff that I never had.
Mm-hmm.
I remember traveling for work and basically being told that I could make a 2-minute personal call, long distance, calling home to my spouse. And, we were not making enough money to where I could have just, I'm just going to go ahead, have my wife call me back, and we'll talk for half an hour. Long distance phone calls were very expensive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and there wasn't a lot of time to say, hey, put Seth on the phone. Let me hear about his day.
Yeah.
Where we can do that now.
That's right.
Anyway, it's a great time to be a dad, and I wish what we have for you guys, and not that what we have is perfect, but what we have is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I love you, boy.
I love you too, Homer.
Great
yeah.
question.
So hopefully that's helpful. A little bit of insight. For this new relationship that you have, you gotta take the reins and lead it the right way. Yeah. So, and hopefully for you and anyone else out there that has a similar maybe strained or disconnected relationship with your dad or other family members, we wish good things for you, and that maybe this is the season that you can find a place to connect and bring it together. This has been a hard year for a lot of people, and what better time to come together as family. So
hey, I do recommend with Zoom and FaceTime and the things that we can do now, get together with your dad and find a reason to touch base regularly, once a week, and share what you've been doing this week, Dad, and tell him what you've been up to, and maybe play a game. We played some games with my family on Zoom that was really fun.
Nice.
And that's stuff that we could never do before, and now we can. Why not?
Yeah, if not that, check out Marco Polo. It's one of my favorite apps now. It allows you to send video messages, and it's just that. It's like walkie-talkie, but with video, and it's great for shooting something real quick, seeing someone's face, checking in with them during the day, and just staying connected.
All right, so let's talk about the cigar one more time. What do you think?
I really like it.
I do too.
It's a really, really good cigar. It's nice to smoke a cigar. I mentioned a few days ago that this was kind of my starting point. I don't get to smoke them. This is probably my first cigar of the year, and it's really good. Jeremiah, thank you for sharing this.
It might be my first cigar. It's a little bit of a tradition for me when I wrap up a training session when I travel. I'm usually just dog tired and tired of talking. And so I'll go wherever I happen to be staying in a hotel, and I will buy a cigar, a local tobacconist, and either smoke it at the tobacconist or go poolside if I'm in a place where I can do that at a hotel. And it's kind of my victory dance, and just sit and enjoy the cigar. I haven't traveled to do that kind of training this year, so it really may be my first.
Same for me. Well, we are going to sit here and continue enjoying these. Everyone, thank you for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow on Tobacco Advent. Nope.
Is there a question that if they wanted to shoot a video response, is there?
Sure. I think you could shoot a video response to that question. Do you have any advice or insight into your relationship with your dad or your son that you could share?
Great.
How's that?
Great question. All right. Hey, make it a great day. We will see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.